Good morning, everybody. How are you all this morning? Thank you so much for coming out at 10:30 on a Sunday morning, which is, of course, the perfect time to be holding a panel about being old. We very much appreciate everybody coming today. No, exactly. Absolutely. My name is Icy, and I am a streamer, and I am nearly 49. And I've been playing computer games since I was a wee young thing. I started on a Commodore 64. And the game I fell in love with was Labyrinth. I mean, I fell in love with the movie, obviously. For anybody of a certain age, you'll know what I mean. But yeah, the game absolutely set its hooks into me, and I've been playing computer games pretty much ever since then. So I would like to go through and introduce who's on the panel today, and they're going to talk to you about their love of computer games and their age and how that affects them. Hopefully you will meet some interesting people. Toast Rack, would you like to say hello?
G'day everyone, morning. You're so punctual. People of a certain age are very punctual, thank you. I'm 58 years old, my name is Toast Rack TV. I'm a full-time Twitch streamer where I mostly play Escape from Tarkov. I started streaming during COVID, but the first game I ever played was before consoles on a 300 board dial-up modem with an acoustic coupler on the back and thermal paper printer, which dialed into my dad's friend's work Honeywell mainframe. Oh. And that's where I played in primary school the original text adventure, command line text adventure, Colossal Cave.
Oh, nice. Very nice.
You've been eaten by a group.
Yes.
And V.
I'm not a streamer. Don't find me. I don't need engagement.
Yeah.
I'm the Industry Development Manager at New Zealand Centre of Digital Excellence, aka Code NZ. We've got 18 New Zealand games on the show floor over there. If you want, that's what my gift to everyone is today.
Please go and check them out. They're great.
My first game, the first thing that doomed me to this path was buying an Atari 2600 when I was 8. Yeah, something like that. And then at the age of 15, what sealed the deal was I bought second edition Warhammer 40,000, which, and I've had a 30-year relationship now with the game, and it's something like an abusive boyfriend.
Yeah.
So my name is Since Spaceys, or Brian, and I've been playing since Space Invaders. That was the first game I ever played. Got up on that milk crate and just been attached to video games ever since. The first console I ever owned was a Sega SC3000, and the first game I had on that was a game called PAX Aus. It only had 2 rounds on it, and I spent a lot of time on that. I actually ended up working at Sega on the Sega hotline, taking a lot of calls from people who were stuck in games.
Maybe one of you.
Definitely me.
Yeah. Alex Kidd in Miracle World was the most common caller. Sun Ways Moon, Star Sun Moon, Ways Fish Star Fish. I know that code off by heart because of years of calls from that. And I've been streaming since 2018. And haven't stopped playing video games since. So.
Mm-hmm. And Noel.
Hi, my name is Noel, also known as Fury76. I've worked in and around the games industry for about 15 years now, starting off at PlayStation tech support during like the PS2 and PS3 and PSP era, then moving on to places like Bethesda, some indie studios, on Modern Storyteller, then some time in government for National Film and Sound Archive, and most recently at PlayOn. And beyond that, also, love trying to preserve game history. Like, I believe that gaming is one of those art forms that is sorely underappreciated, that needs to be preserved for future generations. For me, my first ever game, or the first ever game I ever played, was a Pong clone. So you could slide this little slide down and go from, I'm going to play tennis, now I'm going to play hockey, I'm going to play soccer, because they're all so different just by that one little change on the screen. But my first proper console was a Commodore 64. And I fell in love with D&D games on that. TSR, D&D games, things like Hillsfar, stuff like that. I absolutely love, and I still have those games in the original boxes from way back in the day. And I absolutely adore that sort of stuff as well. But yes, that's me.
No, thank you very much, everybody. Thank you very much, everybody. As we age and as we change, our lives change as well. Like, so we're young and we maybe have all the time in the world to play games, whether they're board games, computer games, war games. As you get more responsibilities, things happen. You take a step back. Maybe how have things changed? Toast Rack TV.
Well, I came in and out of gaming through my life because streaming is my fourth career. So I was very much into computers and games starting out. As like in high school, my dad and I used to write computer games on the Sinclair ZX81 text adventure, the plastic membrane keypad. And I had summer jobs coding games at places. But then I went into IT, went away from it, then came back again to it. During COVID, when my TV editing job shut down and I was sent home, and I just was playing Escape from Tarkov all day and watching streamers to learn how to play the game, and decided to give it a go. So I sort of came in and out of gaming all of that time.
And V, has your love of playing games of any kind changed, or have you had to take a step forward, a step back? Working in the industry, that does make it a bit different for you.
These days, obviously, I live in indie games. That's what I do for a living. I support small teams to get their business started up and all that. So I've probably dropped away from AAA. I've become fairly disillusioned with AAA in the video game space over the past few years. In 2016, when I transitioned, I sold all my 40K stuff and all my miniatures, and I was like, I'm never doing that again. No. In 2020, during the pandemic, and I wanted to get away from screens, I was effectively working shift work. I was working remotely in Perth for a New Zealand company. There was a 5-hour time difference. And then instead of opening a bottle of wine, I opened a box of miniatures instead.
That's probably a more expensive decision, really.
But it's better for the skin.
Yeah, that too.
I knew I was, after the pandemic, I was presuming the pandemic would lift at some point and that we were going to relocate. And I thought I needed to meet people outside of work. And I thought, stupid plastic miniatures games and shouting at people would work.
Absolutely. And Spacies, how has your relationship with gaming changed or not changed as you've gotten older?
Hasn't changed. In fact, I've probably spent more hours playing games in more recent years than I did when I was growing up. I was one of those sick people that I'd be working in a game store and everyone else would talk about how when they get home, they just switch off. They don't want to see a game. I'd be like, but I'm borrowing games to play at home. So I was, kind of really obsessed with it. I find myself now playing more JRPGs like Persona 5 and Xenoblade Chronicles X is my favorite at the moment. I know it's an old game, but I still keep going back to it. As far as AAA games go, I've got the same opinion in the way that I feel like they're just chasing. They're trying to work out ways to nickel and dime you, and I'm just not really a fan of that myself.
No, that's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Noel, how has your relationship with gaming changed as you've gotten older?
I'm trying to think of a good way to phrase this without making it sound like an abusive relationship. No, it's been good. Working in the games industry is one of those things where the perception is, it must be great to play video games all day. I'm like, why in the hell do you think I sit around playing video games all day? I'm talking to you guys all day. No, it's one of those things. I've always had a love for video games. It's a beautiful form of escapism and also a beautiful way to engage in an interactive story. I'm a big fan of games like single-player games with a beautiful storyline, things that have a really engaging plot behind them as well. Also the art style, all that sort of stuff. One game I keep falling back into, and I'm sure the shirt might give it away. I love the Fallout franchise. I love the story behind all that sort of things. Elder Scroll games, things like that as well. So I think that's part of the reason why I loved working at Bethesda. But also retro games, because I'm a big believer in knowing where we've come from to get where we are and appreciating that jump. Because I've my friend's kids came over to play some games the other day, and they wanted to play the original Mario on the original NES. I've never seen an 8-year-old rage quit a game so quickly in my life. But how do I save my progress? You don't. But where are the extra buttons? You have too. It's just that nice educational journey, I think, that every person needs to go on to appreciate games fully.
And if you've got young people here, do take them down to the vintage console section just so they can
section
get
is
an
awesome.
appreciation of that.
100%. There's a
Yeah.
beautiful section down there.
Yep.
One thing occurs to me with my changing relationship with games as I get older. Gaming used to be a guilty secret for me.
Oh, yeah.
It used to be something I would hide from people, or I'd go home and game, but my workmates wouldn't know, and I wouldn't tell them. Even some of my partners were very didn't like my gaming, and I'd hide my gaming from them. I'd wait till they go to work. I'd be working from home on a project and be playing, Arma 3 Battle Royale all day or something like that, feeling very guilty about it. But as I've gotten older, I've sort of found a way to accept my gaming more and come out as a gamer and be proud of being a gamer and be able to tell friends and family about it. I think gaming culture has changed, but also getting older, you just accept yourself more, and therapy doesn't hurt either. But now I'm a proud gamer, is what I'm
I
saying.
love how you just said you come out as a gamer.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not even making a joke here. I think that that used to be a thing. You used to come out as a gamer.
There was a massive stigma
I was
behind
gonna
it.
say,
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a huge stigma back in the day to be like, oh, you're a gamer. Ugh.
Oh, I've actually seen people getting beaten up.
Yeah, I remember once again back in the 80s when like pretty much being a gamer was just a nerd, whatever, and you would get beaten up and stuff. Your stuff would get broken. I remember I had a Game & Watch, a Donkey Kong Game & Watch, which I absolutely loved. Took to school one day and people thought, oh, it's just you're a nerd, whatever, and just snapped it right in front of me. Teachers didn't care about it because it's just a toy. And
They're expensive.
Oh, I know. And now, oh my God, the price from these days is ridiculous. Yeah. But it is that sort of thing. I think PAX is a great example of the fact that gaming is now more and more mainstream. If we look at the crowd here tonight, we've got quite a diverse, today, sorry. It's been a long couple of days, people. I'm so sorry.
And he's old. Yeah.
I am old. But it's quite a diverse, age group in here as well. And it's one of those things where gaming is for everybody. And realistically, it should be for anybody and everybody, no matter age, race, sex, gender, no matter what. Gaming should be a safe place, an acceptable place for everybody to be able to enjoy games, no matter who or what you are.
Mm-hmm. And I think, absolutely. And I think it's a really important role, actually, that all of us who are older gamers actually play within the gaming space, because people who are younger than us, their parents, their older relatives may not understand, in the same way that we still have friends, people our age, who are just like, oh, you play games. There is still a thing. But we can actually make sure that we smooth the way for those who come after us and make sure that people know that they're accepted, that there is a path that you can continue to play games for as long as you like, and that it is a hobby that you can do forever, basically. So
I think the stigma is a Western culture thing, though, because in Japan they just accepted it much earlier. They're the parents of kids now. They were gamers, and they're just used to the culture. Whereas I don't know. I just feel like it's still sort of developing in the West.
Well, I drop into government mode at this moment. I advise governments on policies around stimulus on the gaming industry. Average age of a self-identified gamer in Australia is 36, disposable income, and has a tertiary qualification at some point. It's the world's second biggest entertainment industry. Last year, I think $184 billion generated, and that was considered a conservative estimate. So let's not kid ourselves. The only entertainment industry on earth that is bigger is streaming TV. We are the mainstream. That's it.
Yeah, exactly. And people don't realize yet, but we are, 100%. So don't let anybody tell you otherwise.
I think I read a little while back, it was interesting, the stigma around gaming, someone did this theory around the fact that it actually traces back to the Atari and NES consoles. Because when the big crash, when the gaming crash happened, the stigma of video games are bad and stuff like that. And when Nintendo put out the NES, or Nintendo Entertainment System, it was pitched as an entertainment device to make it more friendly, more mainstream, more acceptable to the masses.
That's why it looks like the VCR.
Exactly right. So the stigma around video games versus entertainment could be, well, I don't know how factual it was, but it tracked back to even then as that early sort of, almost like a critical point in time where things changed, that divide happened between entertainment and gaming.
Yep. No, absolutely. Let's move on to the next sort of part of this is like as you've aged, how has that actually affect your gaming? So your physical like sort of ability. For me, I've actually gotten better. So as I've gotten older, I've gotten more patient, which means that even though perhaps my reaction speeds are not as good, it means I'm persistent. So I can actually continue to practice the skills. It might take me a while to learn it, but then eventually I get good. Yeah.
Get good.
Sometimes quite good. I do want to say that. So tell me how like things have changed.
I've definitely noticed it. Like I play first-person shooters, and so I've definitely noticed my reaction times have slowed.
So you're not blaming the mouse.
Probably doubled. Yeah, people always in my chat saying Aim Labs is free. So is Twitch.
Yeah.
But I never was a shroud or anything. But I definitely notice I can't win a turn around and shoot 10 paces and shoot battle, so I need to play much more strategically. But people find that interesting. When I started streaming, though, I thought, I have to be a gamer, I have to look like a gamer, I have to be very good at the game, and I have to wear a baseball cap. They were the four thoughts I had.
Well, that's why.
Maybe that last one was right.
Yeah, could be right.
But I found that people actually liked that I was playing a slower style of gaming and more strategic style of gaming, even in first-person shooters, because it was an alternative to the amazing performers of the top esports performers who are out there. So, I relaxed.
Yeah, that's good. How about you, V?
I suffer from motion sickness. I always have. As I'm hitting the old 45 on Tuesday. Drop that one in there. I'm the baby of the group.
She's the baby.
So I've just when I even worked. I was a test case for working for a VR game for a while there, and I can't even use VR. I cannot even use VR anymore. So my motion sickness has become really acute in the last few years. I used to play laser tag twice a week. Now I'd have to bring an oxygen cylinder around with me. So I play a lot of turn-based tactical games. Who knew? But that being said, though, even then I've noticed that my patience is a lot higher. I'm a lot more philosophical about things. I used to play I used to play 5 Warhammer tournaments of various things, and now I don't care if I win or lose. I just kind of, as long as I've done as best as I can do, I'm a lot more philosophical about it. But I'm still going to try and get in the top 10.
Yeah.
I just find reaction times definitely has slipped. Super Mario World, I used to be really good at that. Not so much anymore. The reflexes are just not there anymore. And definitely noticing if a game has small font, I curse it.
Yeah.
And it just happens that one of my favorite games has really small font. So I got to sit right up close to the screen. Just on an off note, we were almost going to wear the same caps by accident. I had to switch out.
I literally brought a spare hat just in case because we both had the Atari hats.
But getting older, I haven't quite reached that point where I'm noticing it too much, just the reflexes at this stage.
Mm-hmm.
For me, I think it's... sorry.
Yeah, you go.
For me, like I'm 48 years old, rapidly approaching 49. For me, my patience has increased as my vision has decreased. So similar to Spaceys, like I'm a big fan of a good story. I love stuff like that. And when you look at the screen, like going to read, it's like, and that's it.
I love voice acting.
It's expensive.
But that, just also, as you said, your reflexes tend to dull a little bit. But I also feel like, as Toast said, you become more strategic in the games you play. You also, you find that time to really enjoy what you're doing. So you don't want to waste your time on the ones that you're not going to really enjoy. So I've also found it become a lot more, I suppose, picky in the games that I play as well. Like, I still love my retro games. I will, dig out, just for you. I'll dig out like Sonic and stuff like that every now and again on the Master System, Mega Drive, stuff like that, and enjoy those games. A bit of a nostalgia hit. But yeah, I just tend to be a bit more frugal with what I'll actually play, spend my time playing as well.
And how's your health affected the way you play? No? Like you've got a story about how.
Say, is this a story
This
time?
is your story time. Yeah, go for it.
All right, story time, kids. And I say kids, I'm probably not the oldest person in the room. Actually, I know I'm not. So many years ago in my 30s, which is actually even saying many years ago in my 30s kind of hurts a little bit. I suffered from a stroke. So I had probably hope you can't tell now. But yeah, I had a stroke, basically lost 10% movement in the left-hand side of my body. I was slurring my speech. I didn't know I'd had a stroke. I thought I was just exhausted from doing 12-hour days at a job I was doing at the time. I literally drove to work the next day in a manual car down the freeway after having a stroke. Got to work, got accused of being drunk at work, which was fun. And then a couple of days later, one of the people on my team, who was a former nurse, said, "Are you okay?" And basically went for the whole thing of like working out I'd had a stroke. Went to hospital, they confirmed it. Back then, I got 3 free physical and speech therapy treatments. And after that, that was it. It was done. I had to pay for myself or just, live with how I was. I wasn't happy with that. And so I did a bit of research and I started looking at ways of doing self-treatment and trying to, recover my movement and my speech. And I'd seen a few people doing stuff using video games for recovery. So I had actually went online, done the research, and I had a bunch of different consoles and games. So I used things like, the Wii and Guitar Hero and SingStar to basically redevelop my, muscle skills, my fine motor skills, my speech skills.
The Power Glove.
They don't have one of those, but if you want to give me one, I would love one of those. I'm missing one of those in my collection if anybody has one. But yeah, so I went through basically about 3 months of kind of torturous hell, like playing the games that I love and games that I used to be able to really good at. And I was struggling like this left side of my body was lagging constantly. And trying to do these movements I'd done 1,000 times before, especially things like Guitar Hero, and just like going, I know I can do this, but just things weren't cooperating. It was just so incredibly frustrating. But now I'm back to a point where I'm maybe 1% loss of movement, if even that realistically. My speech is a lot better than what it was. But yeah, that was all thanks to video games. Part of the reason why I'm such a big advocate for video games as for physical health, mental health, for rehabilitation, stuff like that as well, because I've been through that journey and I generally would not be here today if it wasn't for video games. So I'm very grateful for that.
Yeah. And Spaceys. Yeah, absolutely.
So in 2020, fantastic year for all. I actually, the year before, my dad had a heart attack, and I remember being in the hospital thinking, wow, that would suck. 6 months later, it happened to me. Mine was a lot more milder than my dad's, thank God. I only had one artery that was blocked. 2 stents later, I'm back to normal, and my cholesterol levels actually improved since then, which is good. And that kind of made me reflect back on basically just life in general. And it actually made me want to play more games because I wanted to make sure I realized that I'm in overtime now, having had the heart attack, and I have to choose and pick the games that I play more wisely. Probably not a good idea to play Xenoblade Chronicles X, but that's a 200-hour game. But yeah, it's just made me realize that spend as much time as you can on the things that you like and love, and video games is one of those things. Also, streaming helped. Prior to doing streaming, I never used to do anything like this. So I remember the first YouTube video I did, I just set up a camera, a Disney Sing It mic, and I just started talking. And it's you can see the difference between my first video and the latest one. I've just become a lot more confident in being up in front of a camera. But as far as the health side of things go, I've just managed to pull through that, and thank God that I'm able to concentrate on my health a bit more now.
Absolutely.
For me, it's mental health.
Oh, yeah.
Particularly after the pandemic, and I think we all had that. And I had the thing of migrating straight after the pandemic, moving from Perth to Dunedin in the South Island, losing 20 degrees of temperature in the process. I play in a social league in 40K. I've got a demanding job, and so I'm playing games all during the week, and test cases, all that sort of stuff, having a look on helping devs out, all the rest of it. But then on weekends, it was a way to playing in a social league, and it's 50% women, and it gets me out the front door. I actually go because I can sit and paint miniatures for 8 hours while watching Supernatural.
Nice.
And to actually remember that I have to talk to people when I'm not working. And that has been a huge impact on my mental health because migrating is hard.
Yes.
Like when you're immigrating to a new place and you don't know anyone and actually getting out and having to, even if some days it feels like an effort, even if some days it's Dunedin, so it's raining buckets outside, it just gets me out.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for me, it's a bit of a combination of physical and mental as well. I do have to be careful of RSI or carpal tunnel or whatever it's called nowadays. So I start to, if I keyboard and mouse too long, then I'll start to get some symptoms in my wrist and hands. I have to be careful to take breaks and do all the right things. And if you do notice that, you get ahead of it and don't let it go too far because I've had friends who have got much worse injuries from that sort of thing. So I know to be careful about that. And just stamina, I just get tired. I can't do a stream for 10 hours or 12 hours like other people do on the platform. There's kind of a bit of pressure to do that financially, and Twitch will want you to stream longer and longer hours. It's like, no, I don't. I can't do that physically. 5 or 6 hours is plenty for me. I start at lunchtime and finish at dinner time or push it a little bit and that's enough for me. And it took me a while to be happy with just streaming to my level of capacity and my level of energy and mental capacity and being happy with that. And that's my limit, and be happy with that. Less is more.
Yeah, no, that's fair. No, for me, recently I've been going through perimenopause. The last couple of years have been quite hard, and I was getting all sorts of weird symptoms. I'd have brain fog, and you could see me on stream just reaching for words and not finding them and just getting absolutely exhausted. And I would call that a smooth brain stream because it was like, there's not a lot happening today, I'm sorry. And it wasn't till much more like 6 months ago or something, it was like finally somebody suggested it could just be menopause. Here, have some estrogen. And that has made a world of difference.
I was about to say, I got some hills that can help with that.
High five. Estrogen. So that has really made a world of difference. But no, I get RSI type things. So I need to be careful as well. And I would say anybody, it doesn't matter what age you are, please look after your hands because they're so crucial for, lives, sure, whatever, gaming. So if you do notice you're starting to get problems, just back off, like really, please do look after them. So, but yeah, lack of estrogen exacerbated all of that as well. So it was a period where, I was having actual problems with hands and could not play for an extended period of time. So
there was one thing I just thought of that I have had. And when I even explained it to my doctor, he looked at me like I was some sort of nut job. Eye migraines. Is anyone in the audience?
Migraines, yep.
And you end up seeing this free light show and it looks like RGB going everywhere. And I explained it to the doctor. He just looked at me like I was on drugs or something. That's
you need a new
scary.
doctor, sorry.
Yeah.
Talk to your optometrist about that one. They definitely will know. Yeah.
But that was really scary. But you just sit there and you ride it out, and 30 minutes later you're back to normal. So that was something I had to
go in a darkened room.
You should, There's lots of different ocular migraines.
Yeah, if you actually Google an image search, you'll see exactly what it is that you see. Because it's hard to explain that to someone.
Absolutely.
I have a bit of a question actually for Spaces in this one. We're talking about physical stuff. When you're working on the Sega hotline, and I just at the PlayStation.
I'll try and remember all those years back. Yeah, go on.
I developed the claw, so your hand just becomes a resting thing of a controller. So you put your hands down. And it becomes this resting, like you're holding a controller. That's like the resting.
Who else has this?
I looked down, I did that before. Yeah. Well, my hands would naturally sit like this now. So I put down like that. I was like, cool, great. And it's like, oh, great. I've got a PS2 controller on my hand. And I wasn't sure if the same thing with the Sega controllers.
I actually have more issues with mobile phones. You're holding the mobile phone and your pinky goes to sleep because it's holding it. And I think they should be making mobile phones ergonomically shaped to your hand. But as far as controllers, in Sega, our controls were rounded, the Mega Drive, not like the NES. So no, I didn't have that issue myself.
No, fair enough. So we're all part of different sorts of gaming communities, whether they're professional or hobby. How do you fit? How does you and your age fit in within your gaming communities? So, V, I'll start with you this time. How, are you treated as like a sort of respected elder, like within your professional, and then also your kind of
Disrespected elder.
Yeah, that too. Yeah.
So, I mean, I've got 18 young teams over there on a booth, and to them, obviously, I'm an authority figure. I actually control whether their grants get approved and signed off and all that sort of stuff. So there is a little bit of that goes on. You get a point as well where you get a street cred behind you and you kind of stop. In the career-wise, I've stopped caring. I've done long enough now. I mean, take it or leave it. And everything's sort of okay there. I always work with indies. I have zero interest in working for AAA because the large machine of it all just doesn't interest me. But I mean, I am effectively a leader by default, due to my day job in that community. So, they can disrespect me all they want. They just don't get on our booth when it comes to being at PAX.
And how does that contrast with your gaming community, your 40K community?
So I live in Otepoti, Dunedin in the South Island of New Zealand. So coming into that culture as well, because multiculture sort of percolates everything within New Zealand. So I'm referred to as a 40K komatua. Komatua being a respected elder. And I'm like, I'm not ready for this shit. I think I'm actually the oldest person in the league, and I make up through it through good skincare. Yeah. It's just, miniatures is a bit different because so there's certain miniatures like tabletop clubs and all that, and you are even in your mid-40s, you're the youngest person in the room when you rock in there. So it's kind of a mixed bag, but I mean, playing in a social league and all that, I find as well, maybe when you play competitively in that stuff, I don't play a lot of competitive, but when you talk, there's probably a little bit of stigma there, if anything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And you just see how that one goes, because I'm going to take a little bit I'm a risk analysis strategy person. I'm going to sit and go through my mental loops to play through everything. It's who I am as a human being. And some of the guys that the younger ones want to push and they like playing on the clock.
Mm. Yeah, fair enough. And Noel, so from your point of view as sort of industry, how does your age affect the way people in industry deal with you?
It's definitely been a bit of a mixed bag. I do get the, wise old sage and the old man who knows nothing sort of thing. So it's a bit of a mixed thing. Unfortunately, as you get older, you will experience some form of ageism. But what I really enjoy doing is people who come up and actually want to, leverage my experience. And I'm always happy to share my experiences, my knowledge, stuff like that with, people who are coming up in the games industry, or even just external that who want some help and want to learn from what I've been through. I'm always happy to share that sort of stuff. But I do, occasionally get people who come up you're so old, you wouldn't know what's going on. What do you know about video games? Boy, let me tell you. But it's one of those things where I think as you get older, because the whole game industry, as V was saying before, is slowly aging up and up and up. That people within the industry and people who are stalwarts are around a similar age or aging up as well. So I think there's a mutual level of respect.
It's not the game industry is also not one thing. I mean, talking to someone who works in free-to-play mobile and talking to someone who works in VR or consoles or indie or AAA, it's all different. A very 100%. Mixed bag and a very It's the game. I joke that the video game industry is actually 17 industries in a trench coat. And different sectors treat everyone differently. And the other thing too is, particularly with some of the larger companies, the execs are aging. The important thing is to realize that the environment changes almost constantly.
I will say as well, there is a need for young blood in the games industry and a need for new perspective constantly as well. If the same people who were running the games industry 20 years ago were still running it now, we would have the exact same games. There'd be no innovation. There'd be a lot less accessibility.
About that.
Yeah. Things like that. There is a need for young blood. It has to happen. Otherwise, it's going to be so stale. It's just going to become dead. So there's definitely a need for new, innovative, people to come in, have these new ideas, have those new thoughts as well. There's also a space for older gamers to, help them on their path. and not be a gatekeeper or a roadblock as well, because I think it's an important thing as well to make sure we do enable the next generation of gamers or games industry people, or people who just enjoy games, to really actually be passionate and empower them to follow their desires and follow their dreams and follow their passions.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And Spacies, what about your sort of gaming communities? So, and you've obviously worked in games as well. So,
I've worked in games, but I was going to say I'm probably the only one here that's not still in the industry. But I have had it affect me. I went for a role I work in insurance, and I went for a different role, and it was a video interview. And behind me, I've got Sonic the Hedgehog, Shadow, all the rest of it. And I had a pixel screen showing Golden Axe clips and whatever. And I forget it's there, and I do the interview, and at the end of it, she goes, "What is all that behind you?" I'm like, "Oh, that's just my gaming stuff. Don't you find that distracting?" And I'm like, "No, my screen's here. That's back there. I'm not looking at that." But yeah, I ended up not getting the role simply because of that. And I just thought, are you kidding?
yeah, possibly, yeah.
Yeah. So it has affected me, the whole stigma of video games. She was obviously what I call a normie. Like, she just no idea.
And Toast Rack?
I found Twitch viewers amazingly accepting of my age. I was very nervous about it starting out, but they've been quite amazing. I still get about once a week, I'll get some ageism, especially if I'm featured on the front page. If I'm lucky enough to be featured on the Twitch homepage, I get a lot of new people coming through, and I'll get one or two, go get good grandpa or go home old man and stuff like that. But luckily I have enough chat support to that they'll just pile on that person and they won't stay around very long. And but that's very much the exception to the rule. It's been amazing how accepting people have been of me at my age, and I've been very lucky with that. It's harder with my real world friends, especially from other industries like old IT friends, old TV friends, to explain to them what my job is. They all think it's hilarious that I play games for a living, and you get paid for that. And
I think it's awesome.
Then they come, and most of them come around and think it's awesome, but some of them just think I'm this strange person, and it's hard to explain to them that it's a real job.
Yeah.
Yeah, but here's the thing, right? So that with the maturing of the audiences, the range of product that's available, and we talk about innovation, Pentiment.
Oh, that's a great
Conscript.
Yes. Love it.
Conscript came out. They just won the Agders game of that came from Melbourne. And it's like you got games from moments of things that are interested in, more mature audiences are interested in different content. So you have this wonderful increased diversity in the kinds of games that you can come and play.
Yeah. No, I think that's fantastic. That's true. Yeah. So for me, so my community, actually, when I stream on Twitch at ICYIC, thanks for following. I mean, just visibly, I look older. And so I definitely attract people who are sort of my age and older. There's definitely some young'uns there. But no, I regularly run dungeons with people who are, like, my regular crew is in their 60s. One person's in their sort of 30s and the others are in their 60s. So, and we're running harder and harder content. I think you reach a certain age and you stop really caring too much what people think, which is something to look forward to. So you can speak your mind. You can tell people, no, that's not acceptable here, and you can boot them. So, yeah, I really
Well, the ones that
enjoy
give me
being
crap
older.
about it, they're only a few footy seasons away from it themselves. So
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. And, like, everybody ultimately wants to get older. So the alternative is no, we don't want to go there.
I had to get used to being called dad. That's one thing, one transition I had to make. I don't have kids myself. People online give.
Was it dad or daddy?
I'll take either over grandpa. I say steady. I'm not that old.
Yeah.
But and also people, because I was older, people started asking life advice, like real world life advice as well, and sort of seeing me as, especially if people have stuck around for a while. So it's sort of a position of responsibility, and I always say I'm not a therapist. I'm not.
Yeah, that gets rough
I-
when
I
you're
can't-
live on
I
air
can't-
and someone comes in with some really dark
Yeah.
topic and you're like,
But
"Dude,
I
I'm just
have
playing Mario
had
here."
a lot of life experience. I can tell you, I've probably been in a similar situation, and I can tell you what I did, right? Whether it went well or badly, and what I learned from it, and that's what I can do, and that's what I can offer.
Absolutely. I've gotten out of order, so we'll blame the perimenopause, shall we? So are there any other final thoughts people wanted to share about their gaming adventures, their age, anything else that springs to mind, that wise advice for younger players?
Try diverse content. Get out and have a look at the size and the scope of what's out there, and just go and experiment. And I'm always going to be an evangelist for indie creators. And there are teams down there on that show floor right now, not just our teams, but other teams. And where if you're buying their indie game, you're paying for their lunch.
Yeah.
Or you're putting their kids through school. Like, just try different stuff. And the other thing too is that, like I said, the industry has matured. The types of content out there, there's so many different types of things of what can be a game. It isn't just all large creators. There is a place for that. But the other thing too is you never know when something's going to blow up. We had a mad scientist escape room game where you had to pick your stupid tie, and all that sort of stuff can blow up as well. There's just that diversity in content, and there is so much out there if you want to do something more than an FPS.
Yeah, just check out that indie section. One game I saw there was just like hilarious. My arms are now longer. Has anyone seen that? That's just like, what? You'll be surprised when you walk down there.
I have one beef with demos of indie games, and that is, please take out the ageism. Support inverted Y.
Oh, hell yes.
We talk all the time about accessibility. Yeah.
Before I do my point, can we get a quick show of hands? Who plays inverted? Bless you all.
Who misses actual demos?
Oh,
Demo discs.
demo discs, yeah.
And I have noticed that I've noticed that there are more actual demos, which is
it's starting to
fantastic.
creep
So
in
I really
again.
appreciate. Like, I don't need much of the game. That's fine, half an hour. But I would love that half an hour to see if that's going to be for me.
Steam's really driving that again.
Yeah, I think that's great. So, so I think that's covered most of the talking bits. Could we have the lights up if possible?
Sorry, I see. Can I just make one quick point?
Oh, sorry,
before
go. Yep.
Sorry. From me, like echoing everything like try diverse games, try everything like that. The other thing to say, keep your boxes for your
Yes.
games, for your consoles, keep this other stuff. It's harder and harder to find these days. If you go down through the classic gaming area, which I do definitely recommend, it's a great look back at the history of gaming so we can see where gaming has evolved from. A nice nostalgia piece as well, but some of those boxes and some of those bits of, even the press material, stuff like that.
Especially Super Nintendo.
Yeah. But like people don't consider stuff like the advertisement stuff or the press release stuff as part of their history. And there are places around the world which are trying to get that information because it is so quickly discarded and forgotten about. But it is that sort of part of history as well. So I was going to say, keep your boxes. That's all I'm going to say. Try and keep them safe.
No, I've still got my original boxes, original discs,
Outstanding.
and they'll be here forever.
There's a museum in Perth called the Nostalgia Box where it is a gaming museum.
Oh,
so if you're
okay.
ever in Perth, go. That's one of the few interesting things there.
Ouch.
After 42 years of my life.
Now, we do have just the tiniest little giveaway. So I think what we're going to do is, and if you were here last year and won this, please just, let somebody else grab this one. If you put up your hand if you are 40 or older. Oh, wow.
Damn.
Lovely.
We have a demographic.
Okay, that's fantastic. Drop your hand. Leave it up if you're 50 or older. Lovely. Okay, leave it up if you're 60 or older. Oh,
Aus is
we
awesome.
have 2.
No. I
Three?
see. I see.
Four.
This
Oh, no,
side.
there's one at the back, yeah.
I
Oh,
see
no, there's lots.
prescription
Oh,
is
my
out
God.
of date.
Okay, yes. I've been extraordinarily short-sighted for a long time and do need to go and see the ophthalmologist next week. Just to put the old creds out there. Okay, leave your hands up if you're 70 or older. Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, that's a great question. So my plans are, as soon as I retire, I'm going full-time streaming, or maybe, a few extra days a week. I plan to run PvP raids in Elder Scrolls Online. So that's my plan, and basically be loudly old on the internet. So, yeah.
I'm not sure what I'll do next.
Yeah.
People burn out from streaming, so I don't know if I'll still be streaming at 70. But I'll be doing something. I'll definitely be gaming. Something gaming related.
Yep.
Assuming that I do get to retire, I'm going to do a history degree. There's a mad passion about that, and it to me, my gaming hobby and my and history is the same thing. And it's the stories and it's the tales and it's the thing. So I'm going to start and do a bachelor, and I'm going to keep going until I can't do it no more.
Fantastic.
Okay. We're done. When I hit 60, I plan to move away from social media and just spend more time for myself.
Yeah.
And that includes making the ultimate arcade machine just for me.
Oh, yeah, fantastic.
For me, I would like to be sharing stories and helping to educate people about the history of video games. Like I've got my own little personal museum. I'm like a bit of an amateur gaming historian, so I like to collect and preserve that sort of stuff. I was doing similar work at the National Film and Sound Archive. I mean, ideally, if I retire and let's say I happen to win Powerball as well, I'd love to start my own actual video game museum and open it to the public from an educational point of view as well. That's what I would love to be doing.
Fantastic. So we have a small prize for you. So we'll bring it out to you later if you'd like. That's fine. If you are happy to just sit for a minute. Does anybody else have any questions for us? Or, yeah.
NES controllers and things like that. How do you think you've transitioned with the use of that? Has it been easy or has it been hard?
I've got an easy answer in that I never had a console ever. I've only ever had keyboard and mouse, and so it's always been the same. So
The PC master race has spoken.
no, just my family never had one, and so none of my friends had one, so I never
My
used
first
one.
gaming critique was Space Invaders because the original cabinet didn't have a joystick. It was buttons. And I actually found it difficult to use as a kid. And then they re-released it with a joystick. So
Even keyboard and mouse. Remember the time before WASD for movement. If you
yes.
go back and try and play Doom with the original
and I
control
have, and that's
layout, it is a
weird.
nightmare.
Yeah.
It is
Yeah.
absolutely impossible. And so thank goodness
They
key layouts have
standardised.
improved. Yeah.
I want to answer that with a question as well. Has anybody ever played the game Summer Games with a joystick?
Yeah.
Did you shred your palms when your joystick snapped in your hand? I appreciate the fact that games are now a lot more accessible in the sense where you don't have to like a joystick go like that.
well, in
to
the
try and-
arcades with Hypersports, you used to see kids with Bic lighters. I don't know why they're
Yeah.
smoking. And they used to just rattle it over the controller.
Yeah, to try and get back and
Yeah,
forth
yeah.
faster for those things. But I found like,
Yeah.
it's one of those things where like the controls are evolving in a sense to make it more accessible. Like, remember the Duke controller for the Xbox?
So Microsoft have an adaptability controller now,
Yeah.
where
That's
you
awesome.
and it's
fantastic.
open source, so you can use that with a Switch or whatever you want. PlayStation have done a similar sort of thing as well.
Yeah,
so
they're catching on.
Yeah.
So the and the other thing too, even VR is working on their accessibility around all that sort of stuff. I mean, personally, I play on a Switch all the time because I'm on a plane so often. If I can't take my game with me, and I'm excited that the Steam Deck is finally in
my
this
God.
region,
Yes.
and it has warranty support.
I also know as well, Xbox have also now started providing 3D printable files to make the joysticks on controllers easier for people to use as a free.
Yeah, and for goodness sake, they should. I mean, like, so Xbox have got the right idea. They've open sourced it.
Yeah.
open anything when we're doing stuff to do adaptability, to doing accessibility. We should be open sourcing.
100%.
It is just better if everyone collaborates.
Yeah.
Yep,
What's that
absolutely.
line? We all
100%.
win when we all play together.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. We've got time for one more question. What have we got? Just hand up. Yeah, okay, sure.
What is the plan with everybody here to actually bring older people in? Don't just mentor the young ones.
Yeah.
Mentor us old fogies as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Fantastic question.
Yeah,
Fantastic
brilliant
question.
question.
So, and I guess this probably goes out to people in the audience as well to have a think about how you bring other people in. So we've all talked about here about sort of relatives who maybe don't understand gaming, who are not interested. But I would bet almost all of them play some sort of game on mobile phone, and whether that's Wordle or something else. So I would honestly say, and almost everybody has a smartphone these days, even my dad. So that is, I think, a gateway that you can use to take people in. If you've got something like if you've got a Netflix subscription, all of the Netflix supported games, like
they
they've
have
re-released a
Netflix
bunch, are fantastic. If you think they'd be interested in puzzle games, I would 100% recommend Monument Valley. I don't know who's absolutely amazing game and gets you in with the store. And it's I don't want to say it's simple as such, but the idea of it is straightforward, but it's absolutely captivating.
Sorry, can I actually jump in from an industry
Please,
perspective?
go for
Because I've heard, people look, the amount of talk about diversity in content, right? People are making games for you.
Yeah.
If you go down to the indie show floor right now, you will find something and it will be like they made it for you. It will hit all your right beats. I promise you will see it and go sliding around the darker edges of Steam or the Nintendo eStore or something like that. Like I talk about different types of content. There's all sorts of different ideas of what can be a game, what you can be doing. People listening. And the other thing too is we actually recognize older audiences. So come on in. And the other thing too is you can go down, on the converse thing, my hobby side of things, you can go down right now and pick up a paintbrush and start painting miniatures and chatting with the people around you. You are welcome.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah.
Can I talk one thing on that as well? And just one other quick thing on that as well. Like, there are literally millions of games out there. If you have an alignment to a certain story type or a hero type or a villain type or something like that, if you have a passion about something that's involved in a video, in anything in life, could be stories, movies, stuff like that, you will find a video game to match that same passion in some way, shape or form. And that's a level of accessibility that you're comfortable with. I recently got my mother into doing point and click games like Monkey Island. My mum is 77.
Yep.
Ron Gilbert is somewhere around here.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
he actually lives in New Zealand now.
Holy crap, I did not know that. There
Yeah.
you go. But I found that sort of stuff she was curious about video games and what I've been doing in the industry sort of thing. So I explained it to her and she didn't quite get it. I said, well, what do you sort of like? She said, I love the old pirate movies and stuff like that. So Monkey Island.
Yeah.
Let's run you through that and sort of explain it to her. And she was into it. She loves it now. She's off and running. But you'll find something out there to suit your fashion. Never be afraid of games. There's something out there for you.
Yeah, absolutely. But I would say, get your relatives, start them on a more advanced mobile phone game. Start them there. And then see how they go. If they go, I really like the story in that thing, but it's, I don't like playing on a phone. It's like, oh, great. Let me show you where you can go from here. But mobile phone is if you play on a mobile phone, you can and are a gamer.
That's not a new thing, by the way. Older gamers getting started into gaming, because back in the 80s, a lot of people that I used to sort of not collab with, but hang out with, they were in their 60s and 70s, and they had only just started getting into gaming back at that era.
Yep.
So it's not a new thing.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, I would like to say thank you very much for everybody who has come here today. Just do take a look around and just celebrate yourselves because PAX is a wonderful place, and it's a wonderful place for all of us, no matter what age you are or when you started gaming. I think it's fantastic. So thank you very much for coming today, and thank you to the wonderful panelists.
Thanks, guys.